wish to speak about God in a rearview mirror once again. Um, it was back about 1965. I was 13, 14, and the civil rights or the integration movement was just in its infancy. And where my father worked at the Delaware Joint River Toll Commission, a black man had come to work with him in that place. And his name was Rollie Johnson. And he had this tremendous ebullient faith. He walked in the door, "How are you today? How are you?" Praise God. Everything was praise God. And it was vibrant. It was alive. And so he ended up on the shift with my father. And they worked many years, a midnight shift, when things are just totally dead. The two of them would be together. And they would share stories. It was just magnificent. And he came to influence my faith, I see retrospectively. But he just had this grace about him. And interestingly enough, in the summertime, people would be coming up out in New York City to come to Pennsylvania and the Poconos. And Raleigh wasn't content to just take their toll. He would say, "How are you today? And are you good?" And all this stuff. And New Yorkers, 1965, they're kind of taken aback because they maybe never had a black man do that for them. But he had this genuine grace, and all they're interested in is just getting their ticket taken and right through the toll booth. And it was just wonderful. And years later, I was married already. I flew home for my sister's wedding. Rollie and Betty, his wife, were at the table with our family, and it was just a grand point where God put Rollie in our lives, and particularly for my father and for my mom, maybe, that where he influenced them. And it was just great. And many years later, Rollie contracted cancer and was in a bad shape. And I called. I got the number from my mom and dad, and I called him. He couldn't speak, and I feel that I couldn't find the words to tell him how much he meant to me and what his gift of grace was. And after he ended up handing the phone back to his wife, Betty, I told her that he was just a wonderful man, and I'm different for it. It was as best as I could muddle through it. But he was at that point in time, he was there in our lives, and he made God alive, and that's where you get to see him, in the rearview mirror.